Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, the podcast. I'm your host, Kevin L. Powers, and also the owner-operator of Something Wicked Entertainment Events, and I want to welcome you to our program today. So I really hope that you've been enjoying what we've been doing this year, 2026, as we delve deep into a lot of different types of horror films from a lot of different decades and a lot of different subgenres, because we have nothing but great things for you for the rest of the year. We are delving deep into a lot of different amazing filmmakers and their oeuvre of films, as well as a lot of different genres that we just haven't touched upon, such as giallo films, Italian films, Russian horror films, and something along the lines of a lot of different Asian films. So we have a lot of great things coming up for you. So what we do on our program is I take an individual film, and me and my special guest will guys sit down and discuss, critique, analyze, have a general discussion about this individual film in order to give you a better outlook and kind of insight into the way we see the film. Now, hopefully you have seen the film already, but if you haven't, please enjoy our talk, and if there's any major spoilers, we'll make sure to tell you beforehand so that you have the time to not listen to our conversation and go out and watch the film and then come back and listen to us talk about it. Either way, we hope that you enjoy the conversation, because it's going to be a lively conversation, as today's conversation is going to be. Now, before I get to the name of the film, I do want to bring in my special guest for the show. His name is Philip Ray. He has been on the show many times, and we've talked a lot about many different films. Thank you so much, Philip, for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So without further ado, we're going to get to the title of this film, which is Nope. From what year is this from? 2022. It's so recent, I actually forgot what year it was. We don't do a lot of recent horror films on our podcast, but we are going to start this year, which is something I'm really proud of saying that, we're going to start doing. So, this is Nope from director Jordan Peele. It's his most recent film as a director, but he has produced other films. So it's going to be interesting delving into this film today. So, this being a recent film, Mr. Phillip, I would like to know, first off, how you came to see this film. What were kind of your general impressions of it?
So just like the other Jordan Peele movies, like I saw Get Out, very much loved it like everyone else. Saw Us, was a little bit mixed on it, like we've talked about in our previous episode about that. For viewers who have not watched it, go watch it. And so this being the next movie on Jordan Peele's repertoire, for me at that point, it was like, okay, great, he did good, to okay. So this third movie, I very much had high expectations about. Was he going to reach it? Was he going to get back on the track? Was he going to kind of be meh about it? And so that's why I went to go see the movie in theaters, and I did. And generally, yeah, I like it. It's definitely not my favorite from Jordan Peele. Get Out still is just that diamond that just cannot be touched right now. But this is we'll talk more in discussion. But like I genuinely enjoyed it, but I had issues.
Okay, so I guess that's where we were coming in, because we were talking a little bit about this film before we decided to record the podcast, everyone. And I couldn't remember our conversations me and Philip have had in the past, but he kind of reminded me that we kind of had some differing opinions on this film. Because with this film, I believe this is much better than Get Out was, and Us was, because I think it's the most realized film that Jordan Peele has done as a director and as a filmmaker. It is the one where he took all of the stuff he had learned from Get Out and all the stuff that he learned from Us, and kind of commoditized it all into a actual cinematic visual masterpiece, in my opinion. Now, there might be some stuff that is rough around the edges, but I think that's part of his aesthetic, his style. And we'll get to that as we discuss it, but that is how we come to our impressions of the film. Now, considering that all three of the Jordan Peele films were extremely popular with the audiences, we're going to try not to go a step by step plot breakdown of these movies, because it's not like this is a cult movie or a film that is so old and obscure that people haven't seen it. In fact, all three of his movies were extremely popular with audiences for different reasons. And so we're not going to try and delve deep into the whole plot like we might in a regular episode, just to forward that for everyone. So, since you are such a huge fan of Get Out, and we've discussed Us in a previous episode, Philip. So anyone who wants to know about how we came about our opinions of Us, please check that episode out. With this film, Jordan Peele decides to do something that's I have not seen in either one of his shows or in any previous project, which is kind of a mixture of filmmaking history, filmmaking aesthetics, and alien encounter film, but a much different alien encounter film than most people have ever seen before.
Yeah, so the premise of the movie for our viewers and stuff who aren't aware, basically to be as general as possible, this brother and sister combo who own kind of like a horse have to take over this kind of horse farm that their dad owned that used to present to movies and films and stuff. They were the handlers and stuff. But due to some tragedy, their father dies, and this brother and sister combo are now in charge of their dad's horse farm, and they have to figure out how they're going to deal with that, along with other characters when weird things begin to happen of the alien kind.
So, you mentioned that, and I do want to, because this plays into the major theme of the film, the fact that the brother and sister OJ and Emerald, played by Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer, which I think this is probably one of the first films I saw Keke Palmer in, and I thought she was absolutely fucking brilliant in this movie. They're brothers and sisters, but Emerald has she considers taking care of and helping out with the family horse ranch as a side gig, because she wants to be an actor, and she wants to be a showman type of thing. And we see that in one of the first scenes that we show her in, where she relays the history of the African American cowboy and his place in film history. I say that because the ideal that the director had with this film is a whole thing about film aesthetic, film history, and relaying that type of history on audiences that do not know this history. And so when we see them, that, OJ is a character who has always been the dutiful son and just followed behind the father doing whatever he wanted to, can't really run the business as like a showman. He's more like a worker bee, whereas his father was the showman. And then now that his father has passed away mysteriously and unexpectedly, it is his sister who didn't take the same amount of love and care with the business, is the showman. And without these two working together, they are an ailing business, which is why they're in the position they are in when we first see them. The farm is on its way to being bought out by another type of showman, played by Stephen Yeun, who plays Jupe. I love that name. I love that name, Jupe. Because for me, when I'm watching the film, there is a whole bunch of showmanship between the characters and the ideal of fame and notoriety and how that places on these characters. And that's what I love about this film, is it's visually relayed to the audiences, as well as story-wise with all the characters. The first thing you see is the Gordy ape in the process of murdering a person on live television, or I think it's a live recording is the way it is back in those days when they recorded it. We don't see much of it, but it's enough to jar the audiences the moment they see it. And then of course when they do the credits, which I thought was brilliant, without the audience knowing it, they're actually seeing the alien creature's perspective as the credits are rolling. And I forgot that until I rewatched it. When I first saw it at the theater, I was like, that's interesting, but I don't get it yet. I don't get what it's for, and it didn't dawn on me till much later, after watching the entire film, how much that title sequence links with the aesthetic of the alien creature that we later see in the film.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, there's a lot of good ideas in this movie. Starting from the beginning again, the concept of OJ and M and all of that. So one thing that they show off, and again, what I really appreciate sometimes is this stuff, and Jordan Peele does it a lot too, is basically giving the viewers a history check that they probably do not know, because I did not know about the whole. So Play 626 was one of the first assemblies of photos to create the motion picture, which was done with a black jockey and stuff. And that's not something that a lot of probably viewers knew before walking into this movie. And that's actually the significance of OJ, M, and their dad and the business and stuff is that they are like related to that person, is what the story's about. But either way, I mean, that's a really good, like, that's one thing Jordan Peele said in general when he was thinking of occupation for the characters, was doing a black cowboy, because everyone, to help disassociate the assumptions people have of, oh, cowboys are always white. And I really love that idea, and I really liked the setting of that. I thought that was very smart. And just anytime a movie will just do a little history lesson drop, I always like that. And then the other stuff, now we'll talk more about Gordy in a second, but and when I saw Steven Yeun was in this movie, I'm a big Steven Yeun fan, so I was so excited to see him get generally look like a prominent role in a film. I will also say I'm a little disappointed with Steven Yeun, but I'll also put a pin in that for now. But generally, the setting and the showmanship, talking about the jacket jacket is the name for the creature in the end. I thought it had a great design, and I think that's one of the biggest things of like the aesthetic of showmanship and stuff. We won't go too much into it, but there's definitely a metaphor with the design, and it's really great. It is very unique. It is, again, I appreciate that with Jordan Peele, of like trying to do stuff where you do not go, oh, that's exactly like this. Like the design for Jean Jacket, there is not another creature you would directly go, oh, this looks like the alien from Alien, or this looks like, it is completely unique. The way it acts, the way it functions, it was one of the best written parts of the movie.
So I'm trying to get to some of the stuff that we want to talk about with this film, and not dwell too much on all the plot intricacies. But one because I'm a big fan of how the visuals for this film is. The thing about this film is this is a very like wide canvas film. The cinematography for this film is so far removed from what was accomplished in both Get Out and Us. Get Out was very confined. It was a lower budget film. It's really confined to very minimal locations, and it feels that way. Us had these two different worlds of aesthetics that you got to see, and it was more or less trying to do opposites between the two worlds that they were showing. But in this one, you're seeing entire valleys and huge vistas and huge upward sky cinematography, which is really, really hard to make interesting for anyone who's watching a film in which there's a lot of shit that's taking place in the sky that doesn't have jets flying in and out of clouds. It's very, very hard to make those type of things interesting. Yet in this film, the cinematography makes it interesting because you're waiting for Jean Jacket to show up. Is he going to show up? How is he going to show up? Because the creature seems to morph its shape and size as you're watching it. At first, the first time we see it, it looks like almost like a bullet that goes really fast, and then we start seeing more of a saucer type shape until we get the big reveal at the very end. So the ideal and these are not small shots that we see this creature in. These are huge frame shots that probably would look at home on an IMAX theater, on an IMAX screen. And so I really liked what they accomplished in terms of the cinematography. Even when you're seeing OJ by himself on his horse, Lucky, or one of the other horses that he's on, mostly Lucky, uh, there is such a huge and like uh, visual aesthetic where it's not just what you see in the frame, but what you're waiting to see from Jean Jacket and where he's going to show up from. And that's like I really, really loved what they did with the camera in this film.
Yeah, no, it's again what the movie reminds me a little bit of Cloverfield with Jean Jacket of like they did a great job of not spoiling what the creature look like. So when you start the movie, you don't know what it looks like. There is a billion different things. And so like you said, when you're watching like the clouds, you're watching all of these scenic shots and stuff, you're like, is it somewhere? Like, what does it look like? Is it somewhere hidden? Like, when there's moments where they think it could be in the clouds and stuff, there's a lot of moments where you're looking at the clouds and stuff, and you just don't know. And it is very like, again, you're very much like ingrained on it. And talking about the shooting, a little key facts with it. Nope was the first IMAX like shot in IMAX for Jordan Peele. That was because the previous movies and stuff, it was not fully IMAX cameras. This movie was the first time for Jordan Peele to record fully IMAX cameras, which is why a lot of the shots are so vast and they look so great and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I said it would be at home on IMAX. I didn't know it was shot on IMAX cameras at all. I didn't see this on the IMAX, so I didn't know it was actually shot on IMAX. So that even tells you the scope of his productions if he's shooting on IMAX cameras with Nope, as opposed to what he was doing with Get Out, which was his much, much, much smaller budget film. But even though Get Out was a much, much smaller budget film, the performances show in all three of his films, the performances outshine a lot of other films, and they're always the strongest thing. And seeing Danny Kaluuya back in this film was actually really, really great, because you kind of forget how good an actor he is sometimes, because he seems really, really at home as a horse wrangler / cowboy, like you would not think of him as. Especially,
See, I was a little mixed on it. I love Danny Kaluuya. I really enjoy usually the films he's in. I think for some reason for me, I think it's always that problem when you have two characters and you have one who is so charismatic. Because Keke Palmer is great. I love her in almost everything she's in. And so she was great as M, and she takes all the attention, and she just steals the scenes every scene she's in. So when Dan Kaluuya, who's playing a more subdued role here with OJ, who is a lot more studious, doesn't have a lot of emotions, doesn't really act that much. Like, I did find it, I can't fully blame I know Dan Kaluuya's a good actor, so I don't blame him for it. It was just, there were times I was a little bored with OJ in particular, because he was kind of a nothing character. Because again, like M has like the side hustle and stuff, and she has all these aspirations, while OJ is very much just, it's just the stoic character, which unfortunately sometimes can be boring to watch, especially when having to act off more eccentric characters like M. And then later on, when we get other characters, like when we get Stephen Yeun's character, and we get like the freaking Angel character.
Oh, I think you're missing a whole bunch from his character, dude. All the subtle looks that he gives and what he does when he stares at his horses, when he stares down at the ground, observing what the creature's doing above him. When he's there in that first scene with him, or the scene with him and with his horse on the movie set, the thing is, he's a tragic character. He's stuck in a life that like I said, he's a worker bee, and now his father's passed away, and he's forced to take over it because his sister can't do it. But he's also not willing to sell the farm. He doesn't know how to be the showman. And so he hides a lot of that. I don't think it's not there, and I don't think it's stoic because you can see it in his eyes when he starts to figure everything out before everyone else. He's the only character that figures everything out before everyone else because he's observant. And you see that observant throughout the whole movie when he's either looking or not looking at particular things. And he's the one that figures everything out with the alien. Yeah. Kiki Palmer's Emerald is maybe the showman of the movie, the most showy character, but she figures out almost nothing.
Oh yeah, no, she
Everything that she has is reliant on her brother.
Yep, no, I mean, yeah, no, yeah, no, I get that. And then once we get to the other characters, they get more stupider, in my opinion.
Well, the angel character, even though I've seen this movie several times, the angel character is always the one like kind of I haven't really figured out his thing. I could only figure out an angel for everyone to miss when they figure out that they have a UFO in their midst. They decide to go to Fry's. I love that. I love that you go to Fry's. They go to Fry's and to get all this equipment to record the alien, so they can sell the footage, make a lot of money to save their business. That's essentially the impetus for all this. But they're not tech people. They're not tech people. From the very first scene, you could tell that OJ is like this really conservative cowboy who likes to go by tradition. And Emerald is this person who wants to get out of that life because she sees things bigger. But none of them are tech people, which actually is really good to have the Angel character because he is completely their tech people. But he's also the UFO lover. Like, he starts to pick up on everything without them saying it because he's like there's a term, there has to be a term for UFO junkies. I don't know what that term is. For people who want to believe that there are aliens out there, he is that guy, but he's not an extremist, which I can appreciate because if he was an extremist, I was like, oh, we don't need that type of character in the movie, to be honest with, Kiki Palmer's Emerald. There doesn't need to be too many extremists here.
Yeah, the problem with Angel, and it also comes into another character who we haven't talked about, but I will go ahead and talk about the Antlers character, who is a renowned cinematographer that they try to get involved to help try to, get evidence of this alien and stuff, which also was its own nice little thing of like usually in these alien movies, the main character's goals is to kill the alien and stuff. And this, they're not trying to kill the alien; they're just trying to get evidence of the alien, so that again, M's idea is she's trying to use it to help help boost the company up by showing off this UFO and stuff. But going back to Antlers and stuff and Angels too, they were fine when they got together. It's my biggest pet peeve when a plan doesn't go right because characters making stupid decisions for no reason. And it's less on Angel, but Antlers does a decision near the end. And for me, I get the idea, but it's on paper, it made no sense. It made no sense for his character to do what he did, and it completely screwed everything up only so we can because we always have to have the moment in the movies where something goes wrong, like the main character's plans go awry due to something, and I know it always happens, but I hated the reason in this because in the end it was stupid. It was very stupid, and it was just the way to do it.
Do what? I'm curious. I'm curious. Go ahead.
So that they could, so they could have a way to figure out a way to kill the creature, kill Jean Jacket. Because originally they were going to kill Jean Jacket. That was not their plan.
That, in my opinion, that was not the intention of Kiki Emerald going to the whatchamacallit. She had no idea she was going after to kill the alien.
Yeah, no, she wasn't. That wasn't the plan to kill. It became the plan in the end. I mean, or it was the unintentional thing that they ended up doing it with it. But again, It felt it. I didn't like the right explanation to have the Antlers character do something that was so stupid. Angel's mistake wasn't as bad, although Angel surviving also was, which apparently that was a thing. Angel was supposed to was not supposed to make it, but apparently the actor convinced Jordan Peele to keep the character alive in case they wanted to do something with this franchise and stuff, which I think was a stupid decision. But Antlers just was such a made such a stupid decision in the third act, and for me a lot of problems I have with this movie comes a lot with the third act and the Gordy stuff. So I'll first talk about the third act stuff of I just did not like the third act with Antlers and Angel.
So I loved what they did with Antlers. The very first scene we see with Antlers is when they were doing the commercial, and you see him as a cinematographer who is slumming it because that's all he could get is jobs as doing a commercial. He doesn't want to be there. He realizes what his life is amounted to is nothing but shooting commercials. And when you don't see him on that set, you see him in his house doing documentary videos, piecing those together. Now, that's his own personal project that we see him working on. And he tells the other characters he's got other things to do that's more important than him because he's been striving as a documentary filmmaker. He's striving for that impossible shot, that great shot. But that also links into exactly what Emerald and OJ are trying to do. They're trying to get the perfect shot of the alien to sell the Oprah, as they mentioned it. That's how this all links together, in my opinion. Antlers has been striving for that perfect shot his entire life and never getting it. And so when he sees this alien and he sees the majesty of this huge thing, because that's not what they saw at first. They saw a small little thing. He's at the end of his life. He's going for the impossible shot that he could never have gotten, and it will forever be imprinted on film. Regardless of what happens to him, he knows his shot will be on film because obviously they already know that the creature.
But it doesn't, because that's what they established is because he gets greedy, he ends up the footage is low.
What was that?
To move on to plan B in the end because they couldn't retrieve his footage. They couldn't retrieve his footage and stuff because of the fact that it got damaged once, he got, ended up getting killed. We're getting into spoiler territories, people, just to warn you. But because of what he did, he ends up dying, and then his footage that he had to get the perfect shot ends up breaking, so then it was useless.
No, because they've changed the camera. They've changed the canisters twice. So when he leaves Angel to go with the mini version of his camera, it's not the footage that he's already shot. He's going after the money shot. They still have all the footage he shot before that.
Well then I don't understand why OJ why they still had to use the other camera for the end.
No, they're still. You gotta remember, they don't see what Antlers is seeing because this is an analog camera that doesn't run on electric. They don't know what he has. They only see what the other cameras and Angel has. So they've got all the footage. The footage that he's getting, the Antlers is getting, he already knows what's going to happen to him when he gets sucked up there. He's going to go in there, but he's going to get footage of the stuff that no one will have ever gotten. And
yes, except that footage gets damaged.
We don't know what happens to that footage because essentially it just blows up with the creature, but that don't mean the camera footage will be damaged.
No, because remember that was the whole thing. Was he gets sucked up? Some of the footage gets damaged, and Angel's like, "Hey, we don't have the shot anymore. The stuff is damaged."
Are you sure about that? Because I could have sworn that there's nothing like that said like that. Because they wouldn't know what footage was damaged because they haven't seen it.
The camera and stuff that he has gets damaged and stuff. So that's why they had to run away because they lost the shot and stuff. And so that's why they had to go with the plan B shot that they ended up getting and stuff. If if Antler stuff was still viable, there was no reason for them to use the wishing well camera.
Oh well, that's a different thing. I don't know if they were really trying to get that shot, particularly because of the other camera. I just think that was a last ditch effort from our Emerald to get another shot with a real camera.
Well,
Um,
no, because that's why they went to that one because they needed they needed the camera shot because Antler's stuff was gone at that point. He got sucked up. His stuff it fell because that was a whole thing where Angel tries to save the footage by it roll because it falls down, it rolls down the thing, and then that's when Angel almost gets killed by Jean Jacket himself. But they established that Antler's stuff is damaged.
I don't remember them saying that. I might have to rewatch that. I don't remember them saying that at all. I just remember, because I remember them shooting the footage and then them saying that all their footage, Emerald's footage, goes out when the creature is too close, when the power goes out. But I thought they said that they got, that Angel says that all of the footage that he got on the analog camera has it all. And then Antler goes, grabs the mini camera without the rest of the camera footage, and he walks up the mountain, and they're not knowing why he's walking away. They don't know why he's walking away. They're trying to figure out why he's walking away. Like, what is he doing? They don't know why he's walking away. And that's when you look on his face, he's going to get his impossible shot. But that being said, the ideal is, for me, is the fact that you have these sets of characters who are all going for the money shot. But this is also a film in which it's also filmmakers who aren't really filmmakers trying to get that money shot. And I don't think any of them are being greedy. There's no one here who's doing this for money, except for maybe Emerald, really, because she wants to be a star.
Yeah, Evan is doing it greedy.
Yeah, but, OJ's not doing it for money. Angel's not doing it for money. Antlers isn't doing it for money. He never does it for money. He said, you don't see his story being fulfilled until you see his look on his face when he's cranking that camera up and he's getting sucked into the creature. And the thing is, we see the footage of the camera as he's cranking it until the crank dies, and that's how we see the inside of the monster, the image that would never have been captured otherwise. It's a sacrifice that he was willing to make for that perfect shot. That's the only way I can see his character story ending in this type of a film. Because
it would have been fine. My problem is that would have been fine if there was a way for that footage that he is getting is able to be seen by people, but it's not because it gets sucked up. It's gone. It's gone and stuff. And it'd be one thing filmmaking wise if this was our way to see what's inside Jean Jacket and stuff, but we don't because we already get that shot earlier in the movie with other characters who have been eaten. Which is a great visual, like the mystique of what's inside and stuff. Even the way they filmed it was so like grody and like, I mean, it was great. But again, it's like, but since we've already seen us as a viewer have seen what it looks like, so we don't need Antler to do that. And the fact that his stuff is not going to be saved for the people in this world to see, it's just kind of moot point. It is just him going out. I mean, again, you could say that's like you said that like that was his point of like they established that he's probably not going to live too much longer, so it's him, going out on his own thing. I just didn't like it because I felt again it was we need some reason why our character's plan goes awry because it was working fine up until that point, so we had to have Antler make a dumb decision so we can continue so that way, we can raise the stakes, and then we had to have the way the movie ends in the end. The way the movie ends up ending, which was fine. I just hated the way that transition happened. I thought that could have been a better way. I mean, they had the opportunity with the TMZ reporter, like the TMZ reporter popping up and screwing things up could have been their way to get to that. To the finale and stuff. Instead, it was, Antler's going to make a dumb decision because he wants to have the perfect shot in a situation where it doesn't matter in the end because he ends up not being able to give anyone the footage that he got. So it's just kind of moot point.
I don't think it's a moot point as much as it is a character point. The character is not caring whether or not people see the shot that he's doing. It's his own personal gratification that he's getting the perfect shot.
Yeah, and I get that. I get that part. It's just, I don't know. For me, it's just a nitpick that was just, it was really, I was just very frustrated watching it when that happened.
And plus the situation with the alien changes when they realize that the alien is pissed off and it starts to unfold itself and reveal itself. Up until that point, they had already pissed it off once with the fake horse. And that's where I say OJ pays attention, because what he says in the movie is that they pissed it off when they gave him the fake horse, and that's probably why it revolted against Jupe and everyone else at the playground or the fairground, because before that time, it has been docile enough to do whatever Jupe wanted it to do for 6 months. 6 months. That the creature had been docile and he'd been doing this show for 6 months. And then that day, after it ate the freaking horse, it pissed it off. And it besides being hungry, it pissed it off because it couldn't digest it. This is all what OJ says. They probably pissed it off. And that set in motion everything else that happens, because the monster gets pissed off. They're teasing it, and it knows it's being teased now, whereas before no one was smart enough to tease it. So it reveals itself because they keep
they hadn't used Jean Jacket in the live show yet.
Yeah, they had. They've been using them for 6 months. Yes, you pay attention to his speech. He says he's been seeing the alien for the last 6 months. He's Friday.
Been seeing the alien, but he hadn't done a live show yet. That was the difference.
But up till then, he keeps saying that the monster never did anything to him. So it was almost like divine. It was his divine intervention that was saying, not divine intervention, that's the wrong word I'm saying, but that was his godlike thing with this alien creature, because he's been seeing it every Friday. It showed up every Friday. It showed up every Friday, and it hadn't killed him yet. And that was the first time when the whole incident went off that it went against what it had been doing for the last 6 months, because it showed up early. Yeah. And that's when they didn't know what was going on. And that was after it ate the horse, which pissed it off. And OJ says it just couldn't digest the metal. Hence, it's funny when the horse shows up right in his truck, back up in his truck.
Yeah, which I like again, everything with Jean Jacket, like the digestion. There's a great scene, the way it digests, and the scene with the house with the blood was a great scene. Yeah. So this is a good segue to go into Jupe and stuff. So yeah. I really like Steven Yeun. I was very excited to see him in this. I was a little disappointed, and I think a lot of that comes into and this comes into my bigger thing with Gordy. So throughout the movie, they're talking about the Gordy incident. That's related to the Jupe character. And finally, they do. So what they did, how they broke the movie apart in the movie was like through chapters. And so when we get to in the Gordy chapter, like when we finally see the full incident, because like Kevin said, we see the beginning of it, but we're not getting the full picture until near the end of the movie, or midway through the movie, I think, actually, where we see the full thing, which I will say the Gordy segment is great. It is so good. It is very to give our viewers context about when we are recording this. The Primate's coming out very soon, and I can tell you for a fact that they saw this movie with Gordy and said, let's make a movie. Because that is all, because the Gordy section is so good. It could be its own movie. I did not personally think the connective tissue to this and the movie was all that good. I get generally what Jordan Peele's trying to do with it. I did not feel like it fully connected full to the Jupe character. That's kind of what it does, but that doesn't mean anything when Jupe gets taken out halfway through the movie.
So I actually really love the yeah. I love this conversation. We're competing against each other on this one. With this, it took me the second time to watch this to really fully digest the whole the Gordy character. But the fact that
Yeah.
the movie is dealing with how we treat animals and what we think is animals pays into the entire story. First, you have the Gordy character who people are using as a pet in a show that people watch weekly. And then you have the OJ character and the Emerald character and their family who uses horses for the enjoyment of humans. And then you have the Jupe as an older person who didn't learn his mistake when he was younger, using an alien creature, thinking it's just another dumb animal for a show. All that stuff links together. All these characters are tragic in their own way because they all think that they could just use these animals for their own enjoyment and their own monetary value. But OJ is the only one that we ever see who is actually kind to the horses, and the only one who will risk his life for the horses, and the only one who tells Antlers off. He says, "No, we're not using my horses as bait for that freaking alien." He's the only one, which is why he picks up on all the subtlety and why Lucky never dies. Well, besides the fact that his name is Lucky, never dies. Now, I think the whole scene at the television station is showing an extreme reaction because they don't really know why Gordy went crazy. They just assume they know, but they don't really know. And then when you see,
Well, it's implied that Gordy went. The reason Gordy snapped was because of the loud noise. Because remember, a balloon pops, and that freaks Gordy out, and then Gordy.
That's what they
you can
say. They don't because you got one of the things you gotta do is all the loud noise. You're on a television set, dude, and he's been on a television set for a whole year and a half because they're shooting season 2. They're shooting season 2 when this whole incident happens. So I just think that was an excuse to give for the fact that their mistreatment of an animal is the reason why he went crazy. You can't, it's unpredictable, which is why they had that one short scene where the bloodied Gordy wants to do a fist bump with the young Jupe underneath the table, and then they come in and shoot and kill the Gordy. And it's so violent and in your face. Like, there's something that snapped in that Gordy, but then there's that humanity there, that connection with the young Jupe there as well. And it's the same with when you see OJ with his horses. Like it pains him to have this first horse, which is Lucky actually. I forget that the first horse that we see is actually Lucky at the television station. He keeps warning them, and you can't misuse them. You can't just do whatever you want to. They're wild animals. And you see it, and then of course you see the same thing in the jean jacket when you piss him off as well. I think that had they never fed him the fake horse, I don't know if Jean Jacket would have gone ballistic on Jupe and everyone there. To be honest with you, I just think you pissed him off. You pissed off an alien, thinking that you can control it, and you can't.
Yeah, I mean, with me with that and stuff, it's just again, I I think what would have fixed it for me is if Jube was in the story longer than he was, because like the thing is he's not as much as part of the advertisement he's not in the movie that long.
No.
Like Simeon's barely in it, and that's my problem of like Gordy, other than us for the viewers, Gordy's significance of how much. My problem is, I think also was how long they stretched it out. I think it's 3 times we see small clips of the Gordy incident before we get the Gordy chapter. So you spend a good maybe a fourth of the chunk of the movie to this Gordy scenario that is only technically story-wise relevant to the Jupe character, and then he doesn't, and he's barely in the movie as is. Because again, the OJ, Angel, none of them relate to Gordy at all. None of them know about Gordy. Well, I mean, they know about Gordy, but they don't care enough to learn that lesson for Gordy and stuff. So for them, so the Gordy stuff is mostly for the audience, which is fine. But then again, you if you're going to do that, it shouldn't have stretched a fourth of the movie. If you're gonna do it, maybe do one, maybe you do one or two. But when you do it, I think it was like either 3 or 4 times before you get it's 3 times. You do it 3 times before you actually get the Gordy chapter, which is alone. That section alone is like, I think about 10 minutes maybe. It feels like so much screen time because this movie is 2.5 hours. So it's like, that's a lot. The movie's already 2 hours, and you're adding on like a fourth of it with this subplot that in the end could have been cut down. It just, for me, it just did not flow with the rest of the story.
Interesting. No, like I said, I didn't have a problem with it, mostly because I saw the themes and how it related to all the characters. A lot of times you have scenes like that don't seem to relate to the theme of the movie or the characters. But I do believe that your opinions regarding the Jupe character and how short-lived he is relevant. I think that the fact that there's an expectation when you see Stephen Yeun in the opening credits that you expect him to have more of a presence in the film. You are absolutely right. I will not disagree.
And it's a marketing thing too, because they did the whole thing where, it's the Godzilla with Bryan Cranston of like,
yes,
we're going to make him seem like he's a relevant character in the story, and in the end, he's not a relevant character. Something that's on me. Like, I think if I maybe had seen the trailer, I did not have the expectation with Stephen Yeun as much, maybe I wouldn't have been as upset and as annoyed with all of that. But I think because I had a certain expectation walking into this movie that just I could not shake after.
Oh no, I won't disagree with you. The moment that you think that Stephen Yeun might still be alive, because we don't actually see him die. He's literally, I love the shot, the way they ended. He's literally standing in his arena, staring up at Jean Jacket as the shadows of all the people behind him are flying up into this creature. But we don't actually see him fly up, and we don't see him inside the creature. So there's almost this impression that maybe he found a way to survive, maybe he didn't. But just that shot of him staring up, and we realize that that's part of the plot, is that when you look at Jean Jacket, he's going to come for you. If you don't look at him, he kind of passes by you. But that's the thing about this film, is in how it plays in with the showmanship and television and the way we use animals for our entertainment purposes. We can't stop to look. We have to look. And that's one of the things that I really liked about the theme about the movie. Everybody wants to look. Everybody wants to look, but the only one who doesn't is OJ. Even Angel, after he gets tied up and tasseled with the barbed wire, which is the only thing that saves his ass, can't help but the look. And it's
a lot of the spectacle of it, and like the theme of spectacle in the movie it's good. It's done very well. I'll let you decide, Kevin, if you want to talk about Jean Jacket's design alone, because that is very much. I remember when we first talked about this movie with that, you were ecstatic when you realized the relevance of Jean Jacket's design of what it looks like. But I think it is very clever. That's one of the ongoing themes about this is spectacle. The reason why, Jupe wants to get Jean Jacket is for the spectacle, because in his mind, he survives this really horrible incident with the Gordy incident. He's one of the only people that survived that and didn't get horribly maimed and hurt. And what does he do? He uses that as part of his sale to people. spectacle of how, oh, look, it's like he uses the tragedy to his advantage. He uses it for the spectacle. A lot of the characters in the movie, it's about the spectacle. You literally have a TMZ reporter appear in it and get killed because it's about the spectacle and it's about, oh, there's going to be something. TMZ is going to get involved, which I thought was a very clever little bit.
Well, you needed something like that because the characters know that that after the whole incident at Jupe's little carnival place, there was questions about what the heck was going on. TMZ's out there trying to get the story, and that's all he cares about. And he has even when he has his accident, he's literally, "Where's my camera? Where's my camera? Did I get the shot? What happened?" And that's the tragedy of it all. OJ tries to save him. All he cares about is the shot. I kind of like saw that was like that's kind of what almost happens with Antler's character. All they care about is the shot. He dies. Antler sacrifices himself. The other guy dies. He's bent up, broken on the road, should be dead, and all he cares about is getting the shot. And then, of course, we see all that at the very end, after the Gene Jack has been killed, and was it the Emerald's looking at the onlookers trying to get into the little park, Jupe's Park, but they can't cross the barrier. And that's nothing but a bunch of UFO hounds because the story has gotten out that there's a UFO or alien creature in their valley and shit like that. I mean, TMZ was just there first, as usual with TMZ, but everyone else is soon to follow. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, there is a lot of, as much as I've been harping of this movie, there is a lot of good things about it and stuff. The general concept, the designs, again, there's so many like good moments I can think back of with this movie and stuff that again, it just feels like we've seen kind of alien movies and stuff, but there's a lot of uniqueness I feel with the movie in a lot of sense. And again, like this is definitely out of the three, like Get Out's probably the other one. Like I would definitely put this above Us because this movie, Jordan Peele has something to say. He has an idea of what he wants to say with this, that Us didn't have as much of, but this one's like you see exactly what he's trying to say.
So I do want to it just dawned on me because we have so many. For me, I love the actor, so I had to look up why. I'm trying to figure out why Jordan Peele put Michael Wincott in the movie. Because this is if you're not familiar with him, the guy has played in a ton of fucking movies. He's a character actor who, if you see his face without all that facial hair, you'd recognize him immediately. But he hadn't done much before being called in to be in Nope. I thought he was fucking retired until he did Nope. So it was really refreshing to see him back acting in the film. But after a while, I think it's like third, fourth. I can't remember how many times I've seen Nope now. I kind of see his casting in the same way I see Stephen Yeun now, where it's kind of like this stunt casting where you never know what's gonna, because Michael Wincott isn't in the movie all that much. You see him a little bit at the beginning, and then he comes into the third act, and then of course Stephen Yeun's a little bit at the beginning, and then a lot in the second act. I like the fact that the film has these really talented younger actors and these really talented older actors in this film. And then, of course, what you have is a very small cast because, like Us and like Get Out, there's not a bunch of characters in this movie, dude. It's just a bigger canvas for Jordan Peele to work with. But he knows how to do these movies with small casts and pull it all together.
Well, he also knows how to, again, he knows how to choose a good cast. Again, he's Daniel Kaluuya's always good. And again, like either he's working with Kaluuya or he's using like he's always choosing a good like range of casts and stuff. So, I mean, again, there a lot of things to say about Jordan Peele is that he is like this is only his third movie, and so far he hasn't. I was just checking to see if he's announced any other movies, and he has not. But like he like so far, I mean I mean everyone says it, but he has so far been really great about all the content that he has directed himself. Everything he's written and directed himself has been good.
So, um, so it's interesting to talk about Jordan Peele because we most of us know him from Key and Peele, the comedy sketch comedy show that he did, uh, and the fact that he's now segued into horror or darker territory, despite the fact he came from comedy, and we all know some of the stuff. His darker themes did show up in Key and Peele, but not to the degree that what he's doing now. And he's almost taken it. And don't get me wrong when I say this, everybody. He's taken a kind of uh, a, a trajectory like M. Night Shyamalan, trying to delve deep into different types of stories within the horror genre. This is a kind of a horror sci-fi movie as compared to Get Out, which, in my opinion, Get Out's more of a psychological thriller, and then Us is more of a horror thriller. And a lot of people may think that Get Out. So I don't really consider Get Out so much a horror as I do a really dark thriller, so to speak, because it doesn't really try and have those horror images to you like Us does. I don't know what your opinion is on that, but and I would love to know other people's opinions on that as well because there are some people who don't consider Get Out horror at all. But I mean,
I would consider it a horror. I think all three movies are horror, and stuff. Like they've had, like I would say Get Out's more of a thriller horror, and then obviously, and that's kind of what Us is a little bit too. And then this is a little bit more of the sci-fi horror, but I would consider all of them horror movies personally.
well, I think Us is well for me. Us is probably the closest to a real horror film. There's a lot more people getting killed, and there's
Yes.
actually scissors as a replacement for a machete or a knife in that movie. That one is very, very much an overt horror film. This one, borderline, it has some comedic moments. People like to put this one as comedy. I don't really consider this like laugh out loud comedy. It has some comic moments in it, but I don't really like. I don't know if you did. Did you really laugh at anything? I just found things humorous, but nothing like comedy.
I found something humorous. Probably the biggest laugh out loud moment that I experienced, that everyone experienced, is obviously like with the title. You have a moment with Dan Kaluuya sees what's going on with the creature, and he just goes, "Nope." And that was obviously intended to be funny, and I mean that got a big laugh out of the movie theater when I saw it.
Well, that gets, don't get me wrong when I say this, but that gets a lot of people that in my opinion, that plays up one of those tropes about African Americans and horror films. And I'm African American, so I say this with the most loving respect that when if you caught an African American in a real horror film, the first thing they're gonna do is not want to go check out what the fuck the horror is. They'll say nope, and they'll walk away. And one of the great things about this film is that all the characters, all the characters say it, and then they walk away. Which brings me up to one of the sequences I just for some reason didn't pick up on, despite the fact it's really obvious now. I didn't pick up on until now. Is that the three kids that are dressed up as aliens when OJ first goes into his barn at night and he sees the three fake aliens that are pranking him. Then they show up again because they're Jupe's kids. I don't think I realized that they were Jupe's kids until this last screening. I think I just kind of passed that over. I just thought, just three pranking kids. Okay. And that's about as far as I got. Because even now, that's my only problem I have with the film. I had no idea why those three kids were there in the first place.
It's a fake out. It's a fake out for it's really sort of fake out for the audience because at the time, Again, because no one knows what the creature looks like, and so a lot of people speculated, because that shot's in the trailer a little bit of, we're expecting
Yeah.
what ended up happening, but that's what it was. It was meant to be a fake out for the audience. It also serves as one of the few jump scares that the
Yes.
movie has.
That's why I want to bring it up.
Is
It's
another
probably
reason why it was
like
done.
it's really the only like jumps. There's like very few jump scares in this movie. That whole sequence. There's several jump scares. I'm like, but I just couldn't get the a lot. Oh shit! I can't remember when that scene happens. I can't remember what happens first. They steal the horse from Jupe, or the aliens. Those three kids show up at the house first, or if they steal the horse first. I can't remember which came first. I would say
I
that
think they steal the horse after, I believe.
if they steal it after, then it makes perfect sense because you got to get the sense of the conversation between Emerald and Jupe when he comes out to the ranch to invite them to his show. That because of the horse, because they say that, oh, I have several horses like that. My wife bought them. Yeah, because we all know that she stole it from him. That he probably picked up on that and sent the kids there to either check out everything or prank them or something. I don't know about that. The logic is still screwing with me, and so I'm trying to find a reason why that is. If you don't know, that's the only thing with me that kind of is screwy. Is like why the kids show up at his house to prank him doesn't make any sense at this point in the story. So, but that's about the only thing for me, because I do know that this was a diverse film. There's some people who really liked it. There's some people that didn't like it at all. I think the shadow of how popular Get Out has overshadowed his subsequent movies. Because the same thing happened with Us. And we discussed that ourselves. I liked Us more the second time I saw it than when I first saw it. I had to give that one time to digest, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is Get Out is well documented of being like, again, everyone likes it. Everyone, uh, it it's very rare that you see a filmmaker where their first movie was so universally acclaimed that they kind of struggled to get out of that limelight of that first movie, even if the other movies before after that aren't bad per se. Uh, but it's just Get Out. It's always been kind of a shadow looming over Jordan Peele for his other movies and stuff. Maybe that's why he hasn't done many movies since then. But I mean, with Nope again, like for me personally, if I had to rank the Jordan Peele movies, it would be Get Out, and then this, and then Us. But I do think that, and we'll see if Jordan Peele does, because right now he seems kind of in the more producer mood more than anything. Because he hasn't, after this, the only other thing he's written was the Wendell and Well stop motion animated movie that came out the same year. And then, but other than that, he's mostly just been producing most of the time, and sometimes he'll do a small acting thing. But other than that, I do think that right now his filmography is very small, which is sad because he is a very like smart filmmaker.
You're thinking of. I think it's well as a writer producer. Yeah, I could say it's small, but as a producer, he's produced so much shit. It's ridiculous. So,
Yeah.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, like yeah, he's ridiculous. Yeah, he had that little hot streak for a while where he did several television shows at the same time in addition to movies. But you burn out. You have to take a little break. I'm fine with that. But I do want to say that there are a lot of filmmakers who can't get from under the shadow of their first film that is popular with audiences. I am happy that Jordan Peele's three films were successful, but there's a lot more tragedy when the director can't get the financial backing on subsequent films because they just don't reach the height of the film that made them popular. John Carpenter hasn't been able to do a movie as successful as Halloween, despite having a really large filmography. Or M. Night Shyamalan, as we mentioned earlier. His first film was completely ignored, but Sixth Sense, name any normal general audiences who doesn't reference Sixth Sense when he comes out with a new movie. It's like he's done better movies than Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense was his one that was universally well regarded. And most of his other films, there's people who love them, there's people that hate them, there's people who just think they're just horribly bad. It's a sad thing. It's better to actually go unnoticed on your first several films instead of being noticed your first film out. It's one of the reasons why people like Martin Scorsese has survived as long as he has. I can't remember which one of his films was his first one, but most audiences probably haven't seen his first 10. And it's not until his later films where he found his groove that people find out, oh, this motherfucker has done some amazing films, and they're not his first film. I'm glad that Peele continues to do something different and innovative. But I do think
it's interesting because Nope is actually his highest budget, the most expensive movie he did of the three. It also made the least amount of the three as well. It still made a profit. It still was profitable, but it actually made less money than the other two.
Yeah, because it's all relative to your budget. Like Get Out cost almost nothing. It was a Jason Blumhouse film. It cost almost nothing. I don't think Jason Blum did not produce Us or Nope. So I think, I think after he did Get Out, Jordan Peele decided to step away from Jason Blum to do other things, which allowed him to do bigger budget movies. It almost would have behooved him to have done several films with Jason Blum where he had complete control and would have a bigger cut of the pie, even though they might be lower budgets, and then go on to do the much bigger films. But, everyone's trajectory as a filmmaker changes. You're the person we talk about all the time who did, Scott Derrickson, who did Sinister and Black Phone and all those Blumhouse films that are actually successful because the budget is relatively small, so they can make a lot more money, and he can keep doing these projects. And they don't have to be the best. We haven't talked about it on the program yet, but you mentioned the Black Phone too, and you like the first one more.
Yep. Also, I said something wrong, and I'm going to correct myself. Jordan Peele does have a movie coming out. It has unfortunately been you talking about what you said before about, getting kind of messed around with the studios and stuff. So Jordan Peele was supposed to have a movie come out in 2024, but Universal pulled it from the release window, and then finally has reinstated it for this year in October.
And we haven't seen shit about it yet.
Actually, sorry. Let me recorrect myself. Then the movie was once again removed from Universal's release schedule. So Jordan Peele has a movie that he has been trying. He did another one. No idea what it is, but Universal, since Jordan Peele worked with Universal, and for whatever reason, Universal does not want to release it.
Well, I won't say much. Universal doesn't release a whole lot of films each year, and they kind of sparse their films out to kind of maximize their marketing and profitability, since they don't do so many films. And they do have the habit of not putting out a whole bunch of films that are box office duds because they do this. So maybe that could be, who knows. Movies get moved around the calendar so often for so many different reasons. I would be remiss to think that the reason why is because they don't like what he did, because it doesn't really matter what he does. You put Jordan Peele's name on it, and he's directing and writing it. It's gonna bring in his fans, just like Nope did. It's gonna be trying to get the non-fans, the people who just want to see a general movie, to come see it. I think would be the real, and I think that's why Nope is considered like a breaking even movie. He just couldn't get like that huge audience of people who aren't like who are just general audiences to come see Nope. Like the trailer doesn't look like the horror film slash sci-fi film. I've told people this before on our program. Sci-fi horror is a horrible sell to general audiences. They don't make a lot of money unless it is established IP. We have more of those that tank at the box office than anything. So that was a risk to do Nope in the first place. Like, can you name one recent one sci-fi horror that made money that's not Aliens or Predator?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard because general audiences don't flock to go see those. If it had been a straightforward horror, I guarantee you it would have been a huge moneymaker. Sci-fi horror is so hard. So hard.
It is. And I think, because funny enough, Us made more money than Get Out, because I think at the time when people saw Jordan Peele's name, they were excited for the next one. And I think Us, I wouldn't say soured people on Jordan Peele, but I think the enthusiasm. I think if Nope came out right after Get Out, I think it would have done better. But I think because Us was okay, it was lukewarm received and stuff, I think it did lower people's expectations just a little bit. And I think to a good point and kind of a bad point in my opinion, this might be a wild take here. I do kind of think having Jordan Peele's name too often on producing is starting to hurt him, in my opinion, more than help him, because a lot of times some of the stuff that he has produced and stuff has been great, but then other stuff that he's produced, like he produced Monkey Man, and that was well received, and then he also produced Him, which was not well received. So I do think he is running into a problem sometimes of having his name too readily available, of produced by Jordan Peele, that people, I think it diluted a little bit on him on like his actual movies. Because I can tell you, I was like everyone when Him first was announced. I thought that was a Jordan Peele movie. Everyone thought it was a Jordan Peele movie until it was like, nope, he's just producing it. But because he put his name on it, I think it hurt him unintentionally a little bit when that movie came out and it wasn't well received.
No, I won't disagree with you on that. I also think that, to be honest with you, trying to sell a football-themed movie that's not a traditional football movie is a hard sell anyways. If it was sold as a traditional football movie, guarantee you it would be a shit ton of money. Like every other football movie that comes out. But it's not. It was sold as this weird hodgepodge of horror football. Now, that's the thing about Jordan Peele. He likes to do those type of projects. I commend him for that. It's rare. But the bad thing about that is they're also rarely successful. I was just talking about the whole sci-fi horror. It's not successful. Traditional football movies are extremely popular. But trying to get someone who likes football to go see a horror film is a extremely hard thing to do. Even if it does have the Damon Wayans in it.
Yep. It's Marlon Wayans.
Marlon Wayans, shit. Sorry, Marlon.
Which we will at some point hopefully do an episode of him, because I got a lot of things to say about that movie. That being said, I do think sometimes, and it's all marketing. It's all a marketing thing.
Yeah, it's marketing.
But I do think that there's a problem sometimes with some certain filmmakers. I think Jordan Peele's one of them, of putting their name out there, even though it just says producer. There is a lot of times when people see producer, they have a lot of times associating what that really, really means for a film compared to being a director on a film. Sometimes people will be like, oh, Jordan Peele produced this. Oh, Jordan Peele screwed up. And it's like, no, it just means that's not what it means to be a producer. But a lot of general audiences will just kind of loop them in together with that a lot of the time.
Yes, I will agree with you on that. We don't have the powerhouse producers like we used to do that were just producers, like Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson, who were strictly just producers. So uh, when you saw Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson's names in movies, they produced the movies. You know what they did. This day and age now, with so many actors and directors also owning their own companies and producing, it becomes a kind of like people don't always, unless you're in the film industry, people don't know which one you're doing and which one you're not doing. Him, I could tell you right now, people thought Jordan Peele directed it. I know tons of people who
Yeah.
saw his name above that and thought he directed it and said, no, 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 he didn't direct that. He just produced it because people don't understand the terminology. I agree with you that I do think that that will dilute his name for his own future projects for general audiences who just don't know the difference between the two jobs. Um, if he continues to have projects that are not successful like him, um, even John Carpenter, James Cameron, shit, even James Cameron rarely puts his name up on the films that he is not writing and directing because he knows his name alone will bring in audience members. He knows that if he puts it on the wrong project, it will dilute his name. He didn't put his name on Sanctum. He didn't put his name on the one he did with Robert Rodriguez. What's that? Battle Angel Alita. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Like Robert Rodriguez put his name on that. If you knew that he produced it, then yeah, because he spent 15 fucking years trying to get the movie done himself. But those movies without his name obviously weren't going to make $1 billion like his movies do. So the Sanctum tanked his box office. Battle Alita just barely broke even. So it's like you don't want to dilute your name if you can help it. Uh, Jordan Peele needs to be wary of that when he's doing these other projects. Most
Oh, I
definitely.
can tell you one thing that also greatly hurt his kind of name was the Twilight Zone reboot, because that was one that I think everyone remembered how much Jordan Peele put his name out there for that one. He narrated, he was one of the writers for it. He really hard tried to sell this reboot of the Twilight Zone, and it was not well received at all. Like, I never saw it myself, but I do know from generally the news and stuff of it, I knew it was not it wasn't terrible, but it was just meh received. It was very mixed received and stuff, and I do think that also greatly kind of diluted his name after that. Because I think at that point, because even with us, when people were mixed on it, I think the Twilight Zone reboot was more disliked than like. And I think that really became the first nail in the coffin of his name.
You know, I'm always a little mixed by that, and we're getting into this now. I'm always a little mixed because at the same time that was being aired, because I never watched it either. I saw the first episode, the first season. That's all I've ever seen. Not to say I didn't want to see the rest of the show. I just never got around to it. But at the same time he was doing that, he did the well-received Lovecraft Country, which I never saw, but was also one that didn't get renewed for a second season. And then, of course, he did the one I did see. Shit, what was the one I did see? Hunters, which I am still mixed about. I was still mixed about that show, but within that span,
He
he had
did not
three
do
shows.
Lovecraft. He did not do Lovecraft Country.
He was a producer on it.
Was he?
Yeah, he was executive producer on it. Yeah, he produced a whole bunch of shows at the same time. Um, I always
You're right,
I
Jim.
always forget about that one because our other guest host on the show, Sarah Panazzo, always tells me I should have seen the show and read the series of books. I only know that show because the guy that has the bad what's his face? I love this guy. As Jonathan Majors was in it. That's the show that got him noticed was Lovecraft Country. I've never seen the show, but I love Jonathan Majors, and everyone tells me I should watch the show and read the books, and I haven't done either one, so I feel really bad.
It's Lovecraft Country is really good.
Everyone tells me that. I'm like, shit, I can't believe I missed it, and I can't believe it only lasted the one season. Considering that from what I've been told, there's a series of books or something. I don't know. But
I was okay, honestly, with it not getting a second season because of the way it was, the way the story was. It was one of those things that it didn't really like. There wasn't a lot of loose storylines.
Interesting. Okay, I have it. I'll have to watch it still. But we got off away talking. We started talking about Jordan Peele, and everyone who's listening, that does sometimes happen. This is a Jordan Peele film, and we went off into a tangent on Jordan Peele. I know we don't have much to say about Nope anymore because we've exhausted that to talk about Jordan Peele.
Yeah, no, I mean again, we're talking about, because it is very weird because as of this time of this recording, like I said, he doesn't have any other movies, and it's very weird to say that's like right now, his next movie is currently in limbo, which is crazy because again, that movie came out in 2022. It is now beginning of 2026, and his next movie is nowhere to be seen, and it was supposed to come out this year, and it's been removed again to who knows how many years down the line, if this movie will even be released. So it's weird to say that could be Jordan Peele's last movie for years.
Yeah, but he's being busy as a producer, so I'm sure it's perfectly fine. I mean, they just released a show about the Black Cowboys. I still haven't seen it. What's it called? High Horse, the Black Cowboy. I still haven't seen it yet. It just came out. And then I just heard that he's producing the remake of Wes Craven's The People Under the Stairs, one of my all-time favorite Wes Craven movies. So he's still got, it's not like he's going to stop making projects. I'm glad that he's still doing projects because the problem with a lot of directors is if you're not Martin Scorsese and you can get any fucking movie you want done, there's time that you spend developing these projects, and it could take 5 years between films. It's sad to say, producing and executive producing allows you to produce more stuff faster than doing your own project, especially someone like Peele who writes, produces, and directs it. You got to write it, you got to produce it, and you got to direct it. I mean, just ask James Cameron. It took him 15 years to do the second fucking Avatar movie. It's not a fast process at all. I am a little bit glad that we had as many films as we did in such a short amount of time with his first 3 movies. But to be honest with you, writing, producing, and directing your own movie takes time. And so if he was doing it really fast, it'd be a different story. But I think give him time. He will end up being like a Martin Scorsese or a Clint Eastwood type of producer, filmmaker, because both of those people don't write and produce all their movies. They actually have people to write their movies, and then they produce and they direct it, or they're producing another project as they're working on their project, and it kind of goes back and forth. I'm glad. Don't get me wrong. I haven't seen him yet. I'm glad he did a movie like that. Who the fuck else is going to be bold enough to do a horror football movie? I don't think it's ever been done. I literally don't think it's ever been done. I've watched a lot of movies in my time. I don't think I've ever seen or heard of a horror football movie that got a huge theatrical release. I just don't think it's.
Well, we'll talk about that another time because I've got opinions on that one too.
All right.
Anyway, but yeah, so my final thoughts with Nope is again, it's if you have enjoyed Jordan Peele's movies, you will enjoy this one. I do think some of my issues are just nitpicks to a point, but I do think, like, again, the idea, the concepts are great, the message is good, the visuals are astounding. It is definitely worth seeing at least once if you like sci-fi horror and if you like Jordan Peele. Again, I think this is his second best of the 3 he's made. So I think if you didn't like Us, I think you will generally enjoy this movie better.
All right. So I want to thank you, Philip, for joining us on this conversation in horror in which we discussed the film Nope from director Jordan Peele. For everyone else who's listening, what we like to do at the end of our program is we like to rate the movie between 1 and 5, 1 being poor, 5 being amazing. But we like to do something a little different by choosing an object in the film, of saying a quote or something like that, to use as our reference for rating the film. What do you rate this film, Philip? And what item or quote or saying would you like to rate it using?
I would rate this 3.5 mysterious shoes that stand upright out of 5.
Yeah, see, we didn't get to that. I should have asked you what you thought about that, but that's okay. We'll save that for another conversation. For me, because I do think this is better than Get Out because of filmic qualities. I'm going to give it a 4.5. Crazed Geordies roaming around your film set. Yeah. For me, and this is why I think I enjoy the film more than a lot of general audiences. I think as a filmmaker, a lot of the story elements and visuals in this film will appeal more to people who understand and see those visual cues in this film, as opposed to someone who doesn't know any of that beforehand. I do believe that some of those imagery and some of the ideals do go above general audiences' heads who don't care about film techniques and film history and film quality. But for someone who's a film person, they can recognize the kind of achievements that Jordan Peele put in this film in order to not only educate audiences, but also to show that he has become a more assured filmmaker and storyteller. I think that's one of the great things about the movie, and I hope that my greatest hope is that people who did not like the film for one reason or another will take a chance, rewatch it again, and hopefully we've given you a little bit of insight from both perspectives. Someone who doesn't like it nearly as much as me, and then someone who likes it probably more than he should. With that, I hope that you've enjoyed our conversations in horror today. As we talked about another great film from Jordan Peele. Please make sure to check out our previous podcast episode on Jordan Peele's Us, as well as all the other quality films we've discussed already. We have a lot of great things coming up for you in 2026, so we hope that you will like, share, follow, subscribe, do that thing you do for your favorite podcast on your favorite podcast app, Spotify or YouTube. And please make sure to check out our sister podcast, Conversations in Hammer Studio Horrors, which delves deep into all the great things of classic Hammer Studio films. That podcast is every first and third Friday of the month at 8 a.m. So we will hope to see you there as well. Have a great day, and we will see you on our next episode. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, written, produced, and directed by Kevin L. Powers, executive producer Kelly A. Inoka. All contents and material from this episode of Conversations in Horror is copyright 2025 Broken Lighthouse Pictures.